Hey guys, welcome back to GWiz Academy. In this video, we are going to learn about Python functions, how to write functions and what are functions exactly and how to use it, right, to create our logics or to create our programs. See, till now we have learned concepts in bits and pieces. Now is when things get interesting, and here is where we will start building something out of whatever we have learned till now. In our earlier videos, we have learned variables, data types, numeric types, casting, boolean types, and operators, what are string, list, tuple, sets, and all those things, right? But how actually are we going to use all those things that we have learned so far? Now, before that, why do we write program in the first place? It is because we want our machine, in the sense our computer, to do some action, to process some data and give us some output. For that machine to execute something and produce us the result, we need to give some input as well. So here what happens is machine expects an input, machine processes the data, or let's say input, based on certain logic, and machine produces an output. Okay, so this is something that everyone knows it, right? So we give an input, we in the sense user. If you are creating an application, your customers are the users will give some input, machine will take that input and processes it based on certain logic. What is the certain logic? Certain logic is something that we pre-program our machines to do. In the sense, if you get a number here on a form field, take that number and calculate the age. Or if you get first name and last name, concatenate and produce the full name of the customer, something like that, right? So that is what logic building is all about. That is why we write program, and program comes in picture here. Okay, so first thing is, here we do have a program here as well to expects an input. Expects an input in the sense to catch the input, to grab the input that the user is giving. We will have something called, we use something called as variables to grab whatever input the user is giving, and by taking that variable input, and then we process it through functions. We process through functions. Here certain logic or condition, we can say certain logics and conditions comes into picture and does something to the user input and then produces the output, right? This is what happens. This is what programming is all about. But now what exactly is this function? Function in the sense, here from now we are going to create a logic or condition by using which our machines will process the data that has been provided by the user. You got my point? Function in Python is nothing but a logic or condition that we create or program it, or we write a program for that, or we code it. So based on that particular function, machine will know what to do with the input that has been given by the user or customer, and then what is the output that a particular machine has to give using that particular input, right? So this is what is a slightly theory explanation. Don't worry about it. So we'll exactly see what exactly this function is all about live right away. Okay, so yeah, so here as usual I have listed out some bullet points through, and we will be exploring it one by one, right? So how exactly we are going to create a function, how exactly we are going to create a logic or create a condition. So here, so what we do is, you need to use a keyword called as def, which stands for define. It's not definition, it's define. Define in the sense create. Basically, informal way of telling is create a function. In technical ways, we are saying that define a function. And once we use this def keyword, and then what we need to do, we need to actually create that particular function. We need to name it. Name whatever you want. Let's say my first function, and then use parenthesis and colon. That's it. It's as simple as that. Now, what did I say? I said that function is nothing but a logic or conditions by using which we are telling a program what to do with the input. So here, did I say anything to the program that do this and do that, something like that? No, right? I have just created my function. That's it. I haven't done anything with it. I have not yet written a code to instruct this particular function to do certain things that we will do right away. So now the first instruction that I will give in this particular function is print Rakesh is a online instructor. Just random text. Okay. Rakesh is an is an online instructor. So what is the instruction that I have given here? Instruction is nothing but simply print a sentence, a random sentence. Sentence can be whatever you want. It's a basic print function that I have used. So here, this is in the first line, in the basically in the 8th line here, I have created a function, and right afterwards, make a note that you need to add this colon, and then after a certain indentation, you need to write a code or logic, whatever you want to do with the input that you are getting. So here, as you can see, inside this parenthesis goes the input of the user that user gives. Whatever input user gives, the function catches it through inside this parenthesis. And what is it called and all those things we will see very soon. But now I'll tell you what exactly, how exactly we're going to create a function. So we use this define keyword and then name of a function, parenthesis, colon, and then after indentation, your condition. This is a syntax of any function in Python. So this is this is how you create a function. Okay, so what does this do is I have created a custom function that will print this particular sentence. It's as simple as that, right? Now save it. Now run the program again. If you see, so we are not getting any output here. We have created a function to print this Rakesh is an online instructor, but we are not getting any output in the output console. So what might be the reason here? I just said that we create function to tell program to do something. I have created a function and I have asked the program to print this particular sentence, but still it is not getting printed, because to print it we need to run this function. Here this is called as creating a function. It is not called as calling a function. Calling a function is here. I haven't called the function yet. That is the difference between creating a function and calling a function. Creating in the sense, just like I have added one more word in my dictionary, right? So if you have an Oxford dictionary or something, a library or something like that, I just have added one more book. Already in Python there are so many default functions, so I have created my own custom function here. It is just that. It's as simple as that. I have simply created my own custom function. That's it. I haven't used the function yet anywhere. So how to use it? Using a function in a particular program is called as technically calling a function. That's it. Calling a function is nothing but using a function. Use that particular function. In the sense, call that particular function, right? So don't get confused with what is meant by this calling and all. So calling is nothing but using the particular function. So what function I have created? My first function is the function that I have created. So here, how to call the function? All you need to do is simply type the name of the function that you have created. Now, as soon as you type the name of the particular function that you have created right above here, right here. So now if I save and run the program, as you can see, Rakesh is an online instructor. So the sentence is getting printed now because I have called the function. Called the function is nothing but use the function that you have created. I have just created and it stands still. That's it. It doesn't do anything unless and until I call the function, it doesn't work. So I have called the function, in the sense I have invoked the function. So the function got executed. And what is this function all about? This function I have created to print Rakesh is online instructor. That's it. It's as simple as that. So it printed this particular text here as an output. It's as simple as that. So now, what is parameters and arguments? If you remember, just before 5-10 minutes, I have simply said that function is nothing but a series of code or series of logic or certain conditions that we tell Python to do with the input that user gives you. Let's say I have created a contact form, or I have created just a form on my or application in my website, right? So in that, the user needs to send their first name, last name, and age, or let's say first name and last name. Okay, so user is adding his first name and last name. So by taking that user first name and last name, I need to do perform something, and I need to store somewhere that hey, this is the full name of the customer. How to do that? Who will give me the first name? Customer will give. Who will give me the last name? Customer will give. And what is the program expected to do? The program is expected to add first name and last name. Add in the sense concatenate first name and last name, and save the output as full name. Full name as output, right? So here, I'll tell you what happens here. So what is the first name that customer will give us? Let's say, uh, let's create one more function, define full name function. This is a full name is nothing but a function that I'm creating, parenthesis, colon, indentation, and start your code here. So what is the data that I will give, that I will get from the user? User will give us first name and last name, right? So the user will give us first name and last name. So what we are supposed to do, we are supposed to concatenate the first name and last name. So what I will do is print customer's full name is plus, how to concatenate, plus f name plus l name, right? So what happens here is, I just now created a function that will print this particular statement. What is the statement? Customer's full name is f name plus l name. What is f name? F name comes from here, l name comes from here. F name and l name is nothing but two variables. Variables are nothing but just a bucket, small pockets of memory, right? So the data inside them, this bucket will be given by user, right? You don't have to get confused. User will give a first name value, last name value. What is variable? Variable is nothing but an empty bucket, right? I have created two empty buckets here. F name is first empty bucket, second name is second empty bucket. L name is nothing but second empty bucket. So what is this whole function is all about? What should this do? It should take the value that has been given to this F name and L name and add it and print this whole sentence in the output. So how do you invoke the function? How do you call the function? Calling the function is as simple as that. Simply type the name, full name. F name by user is nothing but, let's say, Rakesh, and then comma. L name is nothing but, let's say, Kumar. Okay, Rakesh Kumar. So first name and last name, and this is the function. So this input is given by user. User is who here? It is me. So I gave this value. I poured, let's suppose that this is a data that I need to pour inside this particular first bucket. This is the data that I need to pour inside the second bucket. So what is this function is all about? The function will print this particular sentence, and sentence inside sentence I am putting this F name here, L name here. So my output should be customer's full name is Rakesh Kumar. That should be the output, right? So let me quickly save it and run this program. Perfect. So we got this output as customer's full name is Rakesh Kumar. So now what it does, did it do is it took the first name, it took the last name inside L name. Rakesh is assigned as F name, and then F name got here, L name got here, and it was concatenated. But what if I want to have some space between Rakesh and Kumar? Still, if it's a full name, still I just need some space, at least one space between these two words. So what will I do here is I'll add a space manually here. Okay, so space I have added, save it and run this program once again. Yeah, customer's full name is Rakesh Kumar. Perfect. So here this way we take input from user and pass it on to the function and process it. By using those inputs, we process it and produce the output. This is the condition, or this is a statement where we tell program what to do exactly with the inputs that user has given. So what user has given, we can divide that thing into two technical terms that is called as parameters and arguments. What exactly is this parameters and arguments? In some tutorial you might see we need to pass an argument. In some tutorials you might see we need to pass some argument parameters. So you might get confused, what exactly is this parameter and what exactly is this argument exactly? It's nothing but input that we give to the function. Here F name and L name is nothing but parameters or arguments. You can simply consider it like that. See, what happens is, even if you still think why exactly, if they both are same thing, why exactly we have two different words for same thing, you can simply understand it in this way. Here, while we create a logic or while we create a function, we say F name and L name is parameter. In the sense, here if I create this function, and how to technically tell about this function is, I have created a function called as full name, which has two parameters called as F name and L name. There are two parameters in this particular full name function. So what does that mean? That means nothing but whenever we call this particular function, we will have to pass two arguments such as F name value, L name value, and the value that we are going to pass here when we call the function is called as argument. That is a difference. Here, while defining the function, whatever goes inside this parenthesis is called as parameters, and while calling the function, whatever goes inside this parenthesis is nothing but the value of those particular parameters, right? So that is called as arguments. So two arguments we need to pass. What is the argument? Let's say Ziba Fatima. So this is a name. Okay, so now what will happen? Customer's full name is Ziba Fatima. So if you run this program now, customer's full name is Ziba Fatima. So what happened here is, I have created a function called as full name function, which has two parameters, f name and l name. Perfect. So here, when I try to explain what I have done here, I will use a word called as parameter. This function has two parameters. First is f name and l name. And second thing is, whenever I say that I will call a function called as full name function, and I will pass on two argument. First argument will be Ziva and second argument will be Fatima. Here, first argument is Rakesh and second argument is Kumar. Similarly, you can call this function any number of times. Whenever you call function, you need to pass arguments to it. Whenever you create function, you have to pass parameters. Basically, both are same thing. Parameters and arguments are basically same thing. So I hope you understood this whole concept, right? So I'm just digging very deep. You don't have to worry much about these things, but just that you should simply understand how functions work, right? So I'm here simply using print function or print method. So it's a very simple function that I have created here. But yeah, here is where we create logic, we write loops, we write logics, we do operations, we change data types and stuff like that. All sort of complex logics happens within the function, and using the data that user gives inside in the form of parameters, right? I hope this is clear now. We will see more examples that will be more even that will be more uh, easy for you to understand, but for now you simply understand with very basic examples, right? So now moving on to the next part. What is arbitrary arguments? All right, so argument is nothing but what we pass, the values that we pass. So let's say I'll add a comment so that you will remember this. When we create function, we create parameters as well. And when we call a function, we pass arguments. So now here, what is arbitrary arguments? Let's say I'll take the same example. Let's say define full name customer. Okay, this is a new function that I'll create. So now I'll do what will I do here is, let's suppose that there is no first name and there is no last name. Okay, there is no first name and there is no last name. Let's say a user, this is what user is passing the value, right? So user can pass either just one name, or user can see here we call it as argument. So user can pass just one argument, or user can pass two arguments, or user may pass 10 arguments or 3 arguments or 5 arguments. We don't know. All we need to do is we need to add whatever the customer is giving and paste it here and print it out as an output. So what we need to do here is, let's say full name of customer. Let's say let's say we need to create a parameter here. So what is the parameter that I'll do? I'll just create a parameter called name. Okay, so how many arguments that the customer will send, I don't know. So in that case, what I need to do is, okay, I'll tell you what we need to do, but before that we'll just simply create this function first and print, let's say customer name is name. Okay, so customer name is name. And how to call the function here? So to call the function, we need to do full name customer and then name, let's say Rakesh. Is it simple, or I need to use double quotation? This argument I need to pass first. What is the argument that I'll pass? Rakesh. Just one word, right? So let me save it. Customer name is Rakesh. Perfect. So let's say, what if I say full name customer, user in sends us an input called as Ziba Fatima. They are just first name and last name, or let's say two words of the her name has two words in it, right? So I just need two words to be printed here, right? The code is what is the code is all about? Code is all about whatever the name of a customer is, it should print it as an output. So let me save it and run this program. We will 100% get an error. As you can see, we got an error. Full name customer takes one positional argument, but two were given. So what exactly this means is you have passed two arguments, but this particular function just takes one argument. So, but let's say the project requirement is like the customer can send what, how many arguments they want, they can send it, but you need to create a function for that. So if in case a programmer doesn't know how many arguments a customer will send, then how to do it, how to create a function? So what you need to do is simply put this star symbol or asterisk, whatever we call it as, right? Star symbol here before the parameter, right? Now save it and now run the program once again. So what will happen? Let's see. Okay, tuple. So let's say so this is a tuple. Okay, this is, I need to write more code here, but for now I will not confuse you. Okay, this is a code. Let's say we need to print the name out as an output. If Rakesh is given, Rakesh has to be printed. If Ziba Fatima is given, Ziba Fatima has to be printed. And if there is 10 more items, 10 more items has to be printed. So now let's save it and run this program. Scroll down. See, the first name got printed, Rakesh. Second name, second time when we call the function, we passed Ziba and Ziba and Fatima. So Ziba and Fatima was printed. So here, let's say full name of a customer, let's say T Ritesh Kumar, right? So T Ritesh Kumar or something like that. So let's say we have three arguments that we pass. We don't have any rule that we can pass any number of arguments that we want in our code, right? Save it, run this program. T Ritesh Kumar, right? All the arguments that we pass is getting printed. And if you see, we have this parenthesis as well. What we call it as curved brackets, right? Round brackets or curved brackets or round brackets or parenthesis. Inside parenthesis we have this. So it is list or tuple. It's called as tuple, right? So what happens here is, if you don't know how many arguments a customer or a user is going to pass, in those situations what you need to do is you need to use this symbol here right before the parameter that you create, so that it will just simply print it. Whenever you call this particular variable, it will simply collect everything, every argument that your user is sending you, and will print it off. It will create a tuple, and if you print the tuple, the tuple will get printed here as in an output, right? So this is the functionality through which we can process the n number of arguments, that if in case we don't know how many number of arguments is being passed to the function. Now moving forward, print list of all students. List of all students, yeah. So this is what let's say I don't know how many number of students are there. So this is just an example of this arbitrary argument itself. So let's suppose that you are asked to list out all the students name. So let's say I'll create a function called as my student list, right? And then I don't know how many number of students are there. So what I'll do is I'll simply create names, or let's say student names, and I'll use this symbol, star symbol, right before the student names. So now what will happen is I'll use colon and I'll say print stu names. As simple as that. So now a user can pass any number of students name. It will print all the names that the user will pass. So here I don't have to worry how many arguments the user is going to pass while they call a function. So here, see, let's say my student list. So here, if you see, uh, my student list, let's say Rakesh, Ritesh, Vishal, Fatima, and then Amar, Santosh, right? And n number of names I can simply go ahead and list out. So here what happens is user, the programmer creates this function, right? Programmer doesn't know how many list of students the user is going to submit. So here as a user I'm submitting 1 2 3 4 5 6 names. I'm submitting 6 arguments, we call it arguments technically. So 6 arguments I'm passing, but all the 6 names will get printed because of the way I have written the function. It will still work, right? So let's go ahead and test it, save and run this program. Scroll down. Syntax bracket was now closed. Let's see, something is wrong here. Okay. All seems to be right here, but we got an error. But yeah, let's see. Let's try to run this program once again. Yeah, Rakesh, Ritesh, Vishal, Fatima, Amar, and Santosh. So all the names of the students got listed, right? So this is nothing but an example of what we have already seen, arbitrary argument, right? So that's the same thing. Now, what is keyword argument? What is keyword argument? So here, if you see, let's say we have a list of names, or let's create one more function. My underscore team parenthesis colon and print, let's say here I'll create my team, in the sense I'll create 3 parameters. I'll create what are the parameters I'll create? The first parameter I'll create is member 1 comma member 2 comma member 3. So here print, let's say I'll just tell member 1, member 2, member 3, and here I'll say member 1, or let's say I need to print all these things. member 1, member 1 plus is instructor, and member 2 is publisher, plus member 3 is developer, right? So this is nothing but we are just going to print out this member 1, member 2, member 3, and member 1 is nothing but instructor, member 2 is nothing but publisher, member 3 is nothing but developer, right? So here whenever I call this particular function, I need to pass on what is the value of member 1, member 2, member 3. One option is, see here carefully, whenever I call this function my team, here whenever I call this function, I need to send member 1, member 2, and member 3 as an argument. So first member is, let's say member 1 is Rakesh, and member 2 is Fatima, and member 3 is Vishal. Okay, these are just names of my team members, so I'm just using those same names. So Rakesh is an instructor, Fatima is responsible for publishing the courses, Vishal is responsible for creating the coding examples and all those things. He's a developer. So we have 3 members, so 3 members names are, I'm sending it. So what this function will do here, so this function will create this sentence and send us as an output. Rakesh is instructor, Fatima is publisher, and Vishal is developer. So let me quickly add some spaces here. Okay, so instead of doing this, what I can do is I can simply do like this. Member, I can first pass member 3 name. Member 3 is, because what happened is, if you see here, Rakesh, Fatima, and Vishal. What if I want to pass Vishal as the first argument, and second I want to pass Fatima, and third I want to pass Rakesh? So here if you see my team, so here if I say Vishal and then Rakesh and then Fatima. So what will happen now? It will create a mess now. How? Because first argument is Vishal, so automatically member 1 will be Vishal. The second argument is Rakesh, so automatically member 2 will be Rakesh, and third member is Fatima, so member 3 will be Fatima. So what is happening here is, every time I shuffle these names, what will happen is their designation will get changed, their roles and responsibilities will get changed. So here Fatima is not a developer, but since I passed the name of Fatima as member 3, so member 3 is a developer. The function will print it like that. So this will be creating a huge mess. So for that, to avoid such situations, what we do is we use keyword argument. That is what we are going to see here, keyword arguments. So what is the use and how to use it? See, my team, I'll do like this. Member 1 is Rakesh, and then comma, member 3 is, let's say, I know member 3. Who is member 3? Vishal. And what is the member 2? Member 2 is Fatima, right? So now, no matter, I can simply paste this member 1 here as well, and I can paste this complete thing argument here. right? So I can go ahead and shuffle it, but member 1 will be assigned to member 1, member 2 will be assigned to member 2, member 3 will be assigned to member 3. Even if I pass the arguments in a shuffled way, still the right person will get the right roles and responsibilities according to their skill set, right? So if I save it here, both should be reflecting same output. Let's see. Scroll down. Rakesh is instructor, Fatima is publisher, Vishal is developer. But as you can see here, Rakesh is the first argument that I have passed, but here I have passed Fatima as a first argument. Here Fatima is the second argument. Here Vishal is the second argument. Here Vishal is the third argument, last argument. Member 1, Rakesh is the last argument or third argument. So this is a use of keyword argument. This is what we call as keyword. Member 1, I created member 1 as a keyword and assigned its value. Keyword and its value, key value pair, right? Something like that. So this is how we use keyword arguments. So this is how we create function and we work around with this function. Now four things are left. First is arbitrary keyword argument. See here we have, when we talked about arguments, we talked about arbitrary arguments, or for arbitrary arguments we used 1 star. So for here arbitrary keyword arguments, here we studied keywords arguments, and here we will study arbitrary keyword argument. For arbitrary keyword argument we need to use a hint that I'll give you is we need to use double star. And what you need to do is go ahead and create an example and show me and tell me how to use arbitrary keyword arguments. And then what exactly is this default parameter? See, there are certain parameters and its values, right? So there, what if I don't pass any parameter, or I don't pass any name? Let's say I'll tell you the answer here. This is homework. You need to find solution and come back. This is a hint, and then I'll explain you what is default parameter. See here, it's a simple thing, but yeah, I wanted to give it as a homework, but still, see what happens here is, let me create define my full name, parameter, parenthesis, and then colon, right? Let's say f name is equals to, or f name and l name. Okay, so now what will happen? Print my full name is space f name plus l name, right? And there is a small space here. So my full name is f name plus l name. That's as simple as that. Perfect. So how do you call this function? My full name is, a user has to put some input, right? So let's say I have added the input as Rakesh as a first name and Kumar as a last name. If I save it, I forgot the comma. I forgot the comma. I forgot this plus symbol, not comma. All right, run this program. My full name is Rakesh space Kumar. So this program ran so successfully. So now what will happen if I do this? If a user says my full name is empty, I'll pass no arguments and I'll run this program. I called this program, but it did not reply, it did not return any value, because as an output, because it is empty, we did not send any arguments in it. So in such cases, if let's say if you are creating some web application or something and user has not uploaded any profile picture, then you don't want to keep that field empty, right? You want to have some default profile picture as at least if a user forgets, at least you have to remember and you have to put some profile picture from the backend. So for that, we have a function, we have a feature in this function. While we create this parameter, we write default value as let's say Tim. First name is Tim, second name is John. This is just a random name that I have taken. So I'll just save it and I'll run this program. Now let's see. My full name is Tim John. So what does this mean? User can forget to pass the argument, right? So even if in case user forgets to pass an argument, still the function will take a default value that has been assigned to it as Tim John. So if you pass an argument, well, fine, it will process and give it as an output. But if in case if you forget, still don't worry, it will take default parameters as an argument and process it for you, right? So this is what is called as default parameter. And now, yeah, so now here I'm using this print function again and again since here, right? So print function is useful to print something as an output, but I want you to not use this print function and use this return function and use print function here when you call the what you say function. Use print function there to see it in an output. What if you don't want to print it as an output? Here I have created functions that will print an output, but you don't have to print output every time you create a program or something like that. So you create an example using return method and keep the value, processed value inside the function. And if someone goes and print the function, then the output has to be shown, right? Here by default the function code itself is printing, so that's the reason we have used print function. But I want you to use, first thing is create an example for arbitrary keyword argument. Second is I want you to create an example for return method instead of print method, and then print it while you call the function. And then pass keyword has to be used, so that even if in case if you create a function without any code inside it, or without giving any instructions to that particular function to what to do with the parameters that you have created, then use pass argument or pass keyword, right? So I want you to create 3 examples for each of these 3 concepts and show it to me, right? So yeah, this is it for functions concept. And if in case if you have any questions or doubts, please let me know in the comment section. And yes, please don't forget to give me or share the examples of these 3 concepts. And if in case if you find it difficult, please let me know. I'll share the examples right away in the description of this particular chapter, right? So thank you very much for watching. Have a great day. We'll see you in the next video with one more amazing concept in Python. Thank you. Have a great day.